Sometimes a piece of music says it all. So I can just go. Bye. Thank you, Jonathan. It's so good to be with you today, in person and through the power of technology. The past few years of my life, as some of you know, had been dedicated to being a full-time student. I had an intense course of action and a goal. Well, without going into details, last year there was a massive turn of events. The building blocks seemed to just crumble into a heap. Within hours, everything seemed to fall apart. Well, not everything. There I was, still standing, alongside my husband. Dogs were fine, house intact. No one close to me had died, but I was traumatized. I have had the privilege of precious recovery time. It's been challenging and necessary. I got this, just stand up tall. The unwavering support of my spouse, Luke, along with several therapy modalities, friends and family, have been instrumental to my healing. I want to emphasize that everyone deserves space in their lives for repair and reconnection. And the way much of our society currently functions does not support or encourage that. It suggests that rest and recovery is a weekend or is something that can be determined by authorities other than you. Now, I am not here to discuss the stigmas around recovery, but I surmise that we know inside how those stigmas tend to cloud our caring of ourselves and each other. During this healing time, I have come to better understand that much of the building I was doing was related to the avoidance of failure. This has been a common theme in my life. I wanted to live up to who I thought I could be. I wanted to live up to what people thought I could be and the standards that were required to get from point A to point B, to point C and D. Mostly, I wanted to live up to something that will keep failure at a far, far distance. And that doesn't work. No one can protect, manage, and control so much that things won't fall apart, as we are all well aware. So I come to you this morning knowing that I am bringing a multitude of parts with me, some known, many unknown. In the last year, I have felt some very strong emotions: lost, drained, inspired, empowered, deflated, stumbling, graceful, and everything else that we all feel when we let ourselves feel. Oftentimes, I couldn't let myself feel. Fortunately, though, Curiosity never left me. Curiosity can be a savior. It connects us with something and lets us know that we care to be present with that something. And there is so much in life to be curious about. I mean, the ridges in our fingernails, or why the mockingbird likes to mock, which I have no idea, but I love listening to them and their changing tunes. Spend any time with anything, and curiosity is naturally there with us. We inhabit awareness with built-in curiosity. You wouldn't be here today if it weren't partly for your curiosity. And that is cause for celebration. So my curiosity led me to learn a bit more about my parts, physical and psychological. And I want to share a bit about what I learned from two books in particular, both about a type of therapy called internal family systems. One is from the founder of internal family systems, Richard Schwartz, called No Bad Parts. And the other one is from Susan McConnell called Somatic Internal Family Systems, Soma meaning body. And I have been granted permission to share an image that I think was on the screen for a moment. We'll get to it in a moment, and a bit of my understanding of internal family systems. But let me clearly state that I am not trained in IFS. I am only sharing what I have found useful within it. So a little background about internal family systems. When they're talking about internal, although it absolutely relates with larger systems of family, culture, and society, internal family systems, they're referring to internal within our own individual selves. Therapist Richard Schwartz was observing that his clients during their sessions would describe these inner parts and inner relationships. So, for example, someone during the course of a session might say, well, part of me was really angry, part of me felt overwhelmed, part of me just wanted to keep the peace. So Schwartz began to encourage these parts to become known and understood. So very much like some Eastern philosophies such as Buddhism and yoga, rather than moving away from these parts, we get curious with these inner parts. Then he began to notice some common patterns, and he created a framework comprised of the self, which it might be very difficult to see all those little words in there, but the self is in the middle and then all of these parts. So I just want to briefly share this framework so we get an idea. So first we have the self, and I'll be referring to this big S self, which is kind of fun to say, throughout the talk. So when I refer to self, I mean our biggest self, okay? This is the core of who we are. It cannot be damaged. It doesn't need to grow or prove itself. In other traditions, it might be called essence, God self, pure consciousness or awareness, or soul. And this big S self has the compassion and wisdom to heal our inner and outer relationships. It's our essential leader. We all have this. All right, then we have these parts. Oh, and there are 8 C words that IFS uses as part of the essential parts of our self: calmness, curiosity, compassion, connectedness, confidence, creativity, courage, and clarity. Then we have these parts that we are born with. They tend to be younger than ourself. They are most basically our wounded parts and the protectors of the wounded parts. So we have exiles. These are the vulnerable parts, the stored painful emotions and memories. They tend to be highly emotional and can overwhelm the system. They carry burdens from their wounds. We all know what it feels like to carry a burden. And hopefully, we all know what it feels like when a weight has been lifted. Exiles may experience fear, shame, loneliness, and grief. Then we have protectors for the exiles. They take the forms of managers and firefighters. Managers want to control and protect the exiles from further hurt or rejection. They might come in the form of inner critics, perfectionists, planners, judgers. You know how celebrities have security guards who make sure that nothing bad happens to the celebrity? This is like our own inner security guard. Firefighters come after the wounded parts or the exiles have experienced an upset. They'll do whatever it takes to make the pain go away. They can be impulsive. They may soothe or distract or dissociate with really any activity. And this may take the form of addictions. So just thank you, Rob, for sharing that. So just like the inner conversations I had with myself during the Message for All Ages, these parts are relating with each other and trying to figure things out for us, even if they cause harm. All of our parts have good intentions. They have jobs to do, and they're acting on our behalf. They want to protect us, alert us, soothe us. They want to be known. So just like we receive pain signals when we get physically injured, or we grow scar tissue around a wound, these are valuable signals and parts. Our parts are valuable to our being. And Schwartz offers this conclusion. Parts are not cognitive adaptations or sinful impulses. Instead, parts are sacred spiritual beings, and they deserve to be treated as such. This is a reframing that has been so helpful for me. We have no bad parts. So this perhaps offers us a way to relate with our parts in a more compassionate way. Instead of getting really mad at a part or ignoring it, imagine yourself saying to your part, "I'm with you. I feel you. I know you're just trying to help me. What do you need me to know?" Yep, I can sense that fear. I'm here for you, though. What might it be like for you to just rest for a little while and let me lead. This is one example of how we might befriend our parts. Another way of reframing is to imagine ourselves as a symphony orchestra. The conductor is our self, our big S self, leading. Then we have all of these instrumental parts. When the conductor leads well, they listen to the parts, let the parts play their roles, and they harmonize well with each other. Sometimes the piccolo player feels drowned out, doesn't feel heard, maybe plays a little louder, then the drummer just starts drowning out the piccolo player, doesn't hear the other instruments at all now, and just starts literally moving to the beat of its own drum. And then the conductor is like, wow, instruments, you are amazing. Let's regroup. Conductor proceeds to hear their stories, thanks them for looking out for them. Harmony is eventually restored. I find this image of the orchestra so helpful in lightening up my way of understanding how we operate. None of the instruments are bad. We just don't want any one of them running the show on a regular basis. This understanding might be helpful with our external relationships too. If we can appreciate the orchestras that we are internally trying to conduct, and then we see another orchestra and another orchestra and another orchestra, our compassion for ourselves and each other can only grow. And that compassion, as well as our self-led and parts-led qualities, are part of being embodied beings. Within the first few instructions of IFS therapy, it's to find the part and to locate it in our bodies and feel it. It is here with bodily awareness that we can really begin to connect in several ways. We get a sense of what's presently happening when we are in our bodies. We get to feel a part and ask, what does this part have to tell me? And we get to choose how we relate with that part. But this sense of choice, it's not something that we make happen. It's not like our intellect is like forcing this choice to happen. We open to it by being present with our bodies. Spaciousness of choice for ourselves naturally arises when we offer that part to be better understood. We get to know that some parts have been working really hard for us. Some are waiting to be heard, to be known. Paying attention to a part, even momentarily, naturally provides shifts and changes, not only for the part, but for the whole internal system. And then not just for our individual system, but all of our relations with life. We can sense an offering and a receiving that is inherent in life's reciprocal nature. So to close, let's take a minute to connect with a part. So first, let's just take a look at our hands. Take a look at your hands. So noticing them with the visual of your eyes. And then feel your hands, either by just sensing their pulsations as they rest, or you could feel the skin of your hands sliding against each other if you prefer. So either one, or another version if you want. Now bring your awareness to a part of your body that tends to carry more stress than other parts of your body. For many, it's in the shoulders or the neck. It could be your head or your belly. So pick a part, choose a part, and feel what's going on here as you pay attention. How might you describe the feeling here and your relationship with it? Now bring your hands to that part of the body if it's accessible. Let your hands welcome that part and offer support. Whatever burdens that part carries, what does this part want to tell you? What does it want you to know? Notice this offering of yourself with this part, right here with it. Notice any shifts and changes. And when you're ready, invite a longer breath in and out. And allow your hands to rest comfortably on your lap or by your sides.